Good evening. This rather dark day for the country. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matole. The big story tonight. The Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i had said that investigations are underway over the swearing-in of Raila Odinga that took place at Uhuru Park yesterday. Matiang'i also said that those found culpable will be made to face the law. Moments later, Ruaraka MP Tom Kijang, who administered the oath, was arrested. We have also learned that the police are looking for NTV journalists. Remember, 3 TV stations were switched off for covering the NASA swearing event yesterday. It remains unclear the number of people the government is after or is investigating. Thank you for joining us on the show tonight. I'll be speaking to Sophia Wanuna in just a short while. She is outside Integrity Center and will be bringing us the latest from there. But tonight I'll also be speaking to NASA strategist Joseph Samaha and Makueni MP Dan Manzo. Our lead reporter, as we said, Sophia Wanuna, will be on standby. In fact, she is ready now outside Integrity Center, where Ruaraka MP Tom Kijang was taken after he was arrested this afternoon for swearing in Raila Odinga. We learned that he has since been moved to the Department of Criminal Investigation headquarters along Kiambu Road. Sophia, good evening. Good to see you. So please let us know the very latest at this point.
Good evening, Yvonne. We're right outside the DCI Nairobi area, right next to the Integrity Center, as you mentioned. And as we were heading here, I spoke to Senator Moses Kijang, who's brother to TJ Kijang, the Ruaraka Member of Parliament, who was earlier arrested and was seeking to just find out his whereabouts. So when he was arrested, he was brought here. And in fact, just moments ago, the aftermath of the tear gas that was used to disperse the crowds and the masses that had gathered here to demand his release, you could still smell that. We actually had to move a little bit further because just sneezing throughout. But speaking to Moses Kijang just about half hour ago, he was making his way to Kiambu DCI, and he says he's been informed that his brother has been moved there. However, he said that speaking to officers there, they're yet to see him, and what he was alluding to is that he's still being moved around, which is an issue of concern, and said let this particular story and the question of where his whereabouts are until now be kept alive until they can establish that he's actually been moved to the Kiambu area. So him being arrested, Yvonne, following the events of yesterday, we remember right next to Raila Odinga as he took that controversial oath for what is described in the NASA fraternity as the president of the people of the Republic of Kenya. Was TJ Kijang, the Ruaraka Member of Parliament, who's a lawyer, so donning his legal regalia, the gown as well as the wig. And in fact, earlier many thought he'd be the one to actually administer the oath. Well, that event was preceded by himself as well as Miguna. So he has been arrested. We're waiting to see what charges he'll be charged with, will be laid against him. But also, Yvonne, important to note is a statement from the Cabinet Secretary Interior, that's Dr. Fred Matiang'i, talking about the shutdown of media houses, including our very own KTN News, saying that the same will continue up until investigations are concluded in as far as who was wrong in airing the events of yesterday, because it was moments after we started airing in KTN, NTV and Citizen that oathing ceremony for the National Super Alliance, that the channels were shut down, saying they will continue to be shut down, is what Matiang'i has said this evening, until the individuals, and talking about specific individuals who went contrary to what had earlier been issued as a warning and what is the laid out law when that was contravened, who will be held to account. And since then, reports have emerged of arrest or imminent arrest of bosses in the media industry, several sentiments going out, including posts online. However, none of those have been confirmed. Speaking to even our colleagues over at NTV, they say they are suspicious individuals that's around the nation media center, suspicious in the sense that there are people walking around and they suspect those to be police officers. However, Linus Kakai as well, who has come to the fore because of that statement and letter he penned out talking about the quote-unquote threats that came from State House before the 30th of January, saying that media houses better not air this event, and that if they did, they'd be shut down. Eventually, whatever it is he spoke about did come to pass. So quite a number of developments throughout the day, but media houses continue to be shut down. Of course, on the political front as well, Kalonzo Musyoka, there was that hand grenade that was found, police going there for investigations around just what exactly took place. The police spokesperson, Yvonne, also talking about finding some live bullets that were actually fired, and so indents of the same in the premises. So quite a bit happening today. Yvonne.
Yes, thank you. Sophia, just stay with us a moment, because you've talked quite a bit about journalists also perhaps might be arrested this evening. So stay with us. We'll come back to you in just a moment, but I want to cross over now to Brian Obuya. He's our reporter and he's based outside Nation Center. We will get to speak to him in just a moment. He's outside Nation Center. We will try and establish what is the situation there and just who the police might be after. So we'll get to him in just a moment. But Jamie Simeha, who's a NASA strategist, joins us this evening on The Big Story. Simeha, good evening. Thanks for being on The Big Story tonight. What do you make of the events today?
Good evening, Yvonne, and my name is not James, but it's Joseph Simeha.
JME.
JME, thank you. Just
Yes.
stick to JME Simeha.
That's what I said, JME.
Yes, what have I been making of events today?
Yeah.
No surprises. This is what NASA has been telling, we have been telling Kenyans all through, the kind of regime that, is building in this country, and that's what we are fighting, autocracy. Previously people have been saying, is Odinga fighting the Kenyattas? Then, no, it's Luos fighting Kikuyus. Then, no, it's NASA fighting Jubilee. Now, is the media NASA? People keep denying until it begins to eat them. And this is the kind of thing we've been saying. There's a dangerous cabal that has gotten hold of the state capture. And that is what NASA is fighting, and now we are seeing the consequences of it. And therefore, we continue to fight in the interest of good governance of this society.
Tell me, have you spoken to people that have spoken to TJ Kijang this evening?
Sorry, say that again.
Have you heard any word from Honorable TJ Kijang this evening?
We know that Honorable Brother Counsel TJ Kijang has been arrested, and it's sort of laughable because they are saying that they've arrested him because he swore in Raila Odinga. They are so daft because TJ Kijang is not the one who commissioned. I don't think they even understand what swearing in means. Because TJ Kijang was there to preside over, but the person who commissioned is a different person. But nevertheless, it doesn't make a difference to us. We are not surprised when they begin to make these arrests. We are prepared for them. And they're not going to kill our spirit at all. They will be, actually, we will surprise them because we are totally prepared. They want to arrest all of us. We are prepared for it. They want to shoot all of us. We are prepared for it. But TJ Kijang, will certainly come out anyway.
Okay, Simiha, stay with me for just a moment. Speaking of arrests, I want to just take a look at what's happening outside the Nation Center. Police reportedly there seeking 3 journalists. Brian Obuya is outside the Nation Center. I'll let him give us the details. Brian, good to talk to you. What do we know now? Have you spotted any police presence? And who are they there for?
Yeah, right. We are outside the Nation Media Group head office here at Kimathi Street, where police officers have been edgy, but around this place for some hours now. They are here seeking to arrest the chair of the Editors Guild, Linus Kakai. We have also learned that they are seeking to also arrest journalist Larry Madowo, and we also understand they are seeking to also arrest Ken Mijungu. Now, what we do not know, they are here with those orders, but we haven't established what are the reasons behind their arrest, or rather we have not established why they want to arrest the 3 journalists. So we actually haven't seen the police that we can identify that these are police officers. But according to what we know, from what we've heard from staff and from colleagues at the Nation Media Group, is that they have spotted a number of them with guns earlier on before we arrived. But for the past 1.5 hours we've been here, we have not been able to pinpoint. There was a vehicle that was somewhere around this place, a Land Cruiser, which was believed to be theirs, but maybe just part of a trick to make it look like they've left the scene. We can no longer see that Land Cruiser that was that was somewhere here. So we are here, a number of journalists waiting to see what goes down. But we can't really confirm that the 3 journalists are currently inside the Nation Media, the newsroom right now, Yvonne.
Recap, you did say that there are no officers in police gear. They seem to be plainclothes policemen, so harder to identify?
Can I hear you again, Yvonne? I didn't get you.
All right. I was asking about the identity of the police officers who are reportedly out there. You had mentioned that they are in plain clothes and therefore a little difficult to spot or identify?
Yeah, that is true, Yvonne. What I'm saying is that police officers were spotted here in a Land Cruiser that is exactly not a police Land Cruiser. They came in, did not access the Nation Media newsroom, but they were hanging around. Colleagues could see them. Then word went out that the 3 journalists were to be arrested. We've seen the talk on social media, some journalists actually saying that the police are looking for them. So we haven't been able to pinpoint that these are police officers. They are in plain clothes, as we understand, but some of them were seen around in their numbers. Some of them they've actually exchanged roles according to the information we have received.
All right, thank you. Brian Obuya, continue to watch the situation for us. We thank you very much. From outside the Nation Media Group headquarters in the CBD, we will wait to see what happens there. Let's speak to Sophia Wanuna, who is at the DCI Nairobi. Sophia, earlier when we spoke, you'd mentioned, sort of remains of tear gas in the air. We understand they were able to disperse some people there. Is there any sign of supporters remaining there or, coalescing around there? I mean, we know he's been moved, but what's the situation like now?
Yvonne, calm. It's quiet, no more traffic flowing, not much activity, although once we had set up outside right next to the gate behind me, the boss called one of the officers, the CID, called and talking about we cannot do a link out there. I explained to him what our business was here, but he said, no, get out of there and get as far away as you can. We do not want that kind of attention, media attention at these offices, so we chose to come across the road. However, not much happening since then. Of course, we await word from Senator Moses Kijang, brother to TJ Kijang, on his whereabouts, because he was and sounded quite concerned about that, saying that the same had not been confirmed as to whether he'd been moved to Kiambu. But just as you were speaking to Brian, Yvonne, I received some photographs of plainclothes officers outside Nation Media, allegedly plainclothes officers, and so you were talking to him as to whether they've actually been able to spot police officers there, and sources who are also closely following this, sending those pictures of what they say are plainclothes flying squad officers, as well as some of the vehicles they're known to use in this kind of missions, if you like. And so quite a night to watch events as they unfold, if they do arrest him, on what charges. And this continuing, Yvonne, of course, in light of all the other political developments, we've witnessed heightening at the highest moment yesterday with Kalonzo Musyoka. And there are many also, just to touch on that, Yvonne, who are speaking to stage managing events to propagate and push for a certain narrative from the state organ. So there's a lot really happening at this time, and perhaps with time we'll be able to sift it all out and see what is fact and what is just narrative.
Thank you, Sophia Wanuna, for more on that. JME Simeha, who's a NASA strategist, is still with me. And Sophia has been talking about, you know, what's myth, what's fact. And Simeha, you will agree with me that there's a lot that's being said on social media about what's happening and who's where. Perhaps you can clarify some issues for us. What is the status of security for the NASA principals?
The status of security, to the best of my knowledge of the NASA principals, should be all right. Although, I must put this in context, we heard some of them say that their security has been withdrawn. I suppose they mean the police officers who are attached to them to guard them are the ones who are withdrawn. But to us, to many of us in NASA, and I suppose anywhere in this country, people who reason will know that this is not a surprise. And there's no guarantee when you displease the state, you cannot trust the same state or government to protect you. Police officers are employees of government, you know, who can be moved left, right, and center anytime. So the security of the NASA leaders is not guaranteed necessarily by the state, especially when you have a rogue state. You know, actually they become a source of insecurity. So it is the people who then secure you. So as far as I know, at least I can speak about Raila Odinga, his security is assured by the citizens of the Republic of Kenya.
Is he a worried man tonight?
No, he is not. Raila Odinga is not worried at all. In terms of his personal security, he's not worried at all. He knows that what will happen, and that's why he stays very steadfast in fighting for what he must fight for the sake of all Kenyans, including those who purport to threaten his security. They need what he's doing. He's doing it for their good.
I want to talk about the incident that happened overnight tonight, and that is at Kalonzo Musyoka's residence, with what we're told now by the police was a stun grenade that was hurled into his residence. What's your take on that incident, as well as the police report that came out thereafter?
Yeah, first of all, let's look at it in two ways. First one is the criminal element, that anyone in this country, doesn't matter who it is, has a right to be secure, to personal security. And any threat to anybody's security, even if it's people who think they may be joking or playing games, is unacceptable and must be condemned in the strongest terms possible. Even if someone is hurling at you a stun grenade or some rubber bullet or even stones, is completely unacceptable, and it must be condemned in the strongest terms possible, and we expect the agencies charged with the responsibility of securing all Kenyans to take action to ensure that they get to the bottom of this. So that is the criminal side of that. That one we must condemn in no uncertain terms. But then we've had some narrative developing, and I even did hear some of the, well, actually I must be specific. I did hear Honorable Wetangula talk about it and insinuate that, you know, this is what is befalling the NASA principles. And some of us completely reject that narrative. It's not about NASA principles. It's, when you begin to push in that direction, you are making it high drama. And we don't want high drama when we face a very serious political crisis in this country. NASA principals and other leaders and technical people in NASA must stay focused and avoid involvement in any high drama, stay focused on their responsibilities with regards to liberating this country. So I would wish that while I condemn totally any threat to anybody in this country, including Kalonzo Musyoka, I would advise that our principals and other leaders please keep out any high drama in terms of insinuating that this is happening because they are NASA principals, because they would have been coming for the swearing-in yesterday. I mean, Raila Odinga came for the swearing-in yesterday. Joho's security was withdrawn very dramatically yesterday. That is Honorable Governor Joho, but he was there. And he believes and he knows that citizens will help to secure his person.
All right. And you've gone into the discussion, as you mentioned, high drama and, the events of yesterday and who was able to make it and who wasn't, depending on prevailing circumstances at the time. So let's hear from Dan Manzo now, who's Member of Parliament in the Wiper Party. Dan, good evening. It's good to speak to you. I would like you first to respond to Jamie Simeha, who's talking about high drama. The fact that a number of other persons within NASA, or rather within ODM, had their security withdrawn, but they were still able to make it to the swearing in. But yet that is the same claim that is being made by Kalonzo Musyoka, your party leader, and as a reason for him not being able to attend. Is this high drama? Is there a split in NASA at this point with respect to the swearing in?
First of all, I want to say that there is no split at all, that there is no high drama. I think he has totally misunderstood what the Senator Wetangula was talking about. In fact, Senator Wetangula began by quoting the Constitution and say that every citizen, no matter how small or big you are, no matter what's your position in society, is guaranteed security and to be secure by the Constitution of Kenya. So it doesn't matter who it is, every citizen should be secured, including the ones who are in Uhuru Park. And you can see yesterday when the police did not intervene, there were no deaths, there were no injuries, despite the big crowds which came to the city. The case of the three principals who didn't make it was very well explained by Raila Odinga himself, Honorable Raila Odinga, and his explanations are sufficient. I really don't need to modify them or go into particular circumstances. I know that the Governor Joho was already in town, was already with the people by the time his security was withdrawn. The rest of the team were to meet at a certain joint, a certain place, so that they can all come together. The moment the Honorable Raila Odinga realized there were hitches which they discussed at their level, he proceeded because he was already also nearer the people at a different location. So the matter clearly explained, and there should be no imagination that there are any splits in NASA. NASA is very strong. It's only that Jubilee people wish there could be such a split, and we discourage our own people who really believe in what we are doing and the cause of this nation. Very serious matters, very serious constitutional flaws that we should not take it for granted. These are very serious matters which happen in the country.
So let me ask this then. As the reason for Kalonzo Musyoka specifically, and I'm asking about him specifically because he's your party leader, that he was unable to make it to the venue because his security had been withdrawn and therefore feared for his safety? Or was he physically prevented from leaving and making his way there? What was it exactly that made him unable to be available for the swearing in?
You know, KTN has a clip. In fact, the last person they covered before you went off air was Kalonzo Musyoka.
That's right.
While lorries were reversing in his house. So he left the policeman in his house, because now he was running out of time, and left his security, who had already been instructed to park and leave. And you clearly showed those pictures. And while he left at that particular position, he was in communication with the rest of the principals, and as he left his house, he was heading to Uhuru Park.
So what happened?
There's a certain place they were meeting. In fact, your own press were after them. They were in the same convoy, but they lost each other somewhere on the way because of the high speeds they were moving in. And this particular place now they met so that they can proceed together, and they were in communication with the NASA leader, the Honorable Raila Odinga. Is where these other further issues developed. Now that the original security, none of them has it, and you are already prevented, and you can't move further. And because time was running out.
So he was stranded somewhere on the road, along the way?
Not on the road, the particular location they were meeting. And for security reasons and other reasons, we had kept these locations, they had kept them to themselves, but information sort of seemed to reach the people who prevented them from proceeding further. And as time moved on, it was now, the crowds were getting agitated, and it was almost now past 2 o'clock. You remember that it should be happened, and because this is the people's Assembly and under Article 1 of the Constitution. Then Raila Odinga had to proceed with the swearing in. You know, Kalonzo Musyoka has issued a statement last night before the attack that he is ready for swearing and he will be sworn. So that particular hitch yesterday has not stopped anything. There is no need for any speculation. He's ready and he was on his way for it.
All right, Samaha, just a quick rejoinder.
Yeah, well, I don't have to, it doesn't have to be a rejoinder, but just to make a comment.
Because you were talking about high drama before.
Yes.
Dan Manzo is saying no such thing.
No, well, there's a bit of high drama, but let me first of all agree with Dan Manzo, who is a colleague and a colleague both professionally and in NASA, that there's no split at all. The fact that the other principals did not show up does not in any way lessen the impact and the achievement of the swearing-in ceremony yesterday at Freedom Park.
But don't you think, Samaha, that it speaks badly for optics that, you know, this wasn't able to happen? So what happens now? That certainly, if you are trying to convince people that this is something that you want to take forward, but that the people were not able to, you yourself said there was a number of other individuals who had their security withdrawn, but they made it there anyway.
Very well, Yvonne. In fact, I do stand by that, you know. It's up to these leaders to explain to Ananchi where they were and what happened to them. But I'm just saying their absence did not in any way lessen the impact. It didn't stop the swearing in. It didn't lessen the impact. It didn't stop us from achieving what we wanted to achieve. Now, I sympathize with them, of course. You know, they give reasons that somewhat are disputed by those whom they are blaming and so on. It's really up to them to explain to Ananchi what happened to them. So that when I talk about that their failure to show up, that's what I mean, that it's up to them individually to persuade Wananchi. This wasn't just about Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka. This was about Kenyans. And the Kenyans who were there physically and those who managed to follow through the various means after you guys and others were switched off, you saw the celebrations all over, Kakamega, Bungoma, Busia, Kisii, Kisumu, Coast, etc., etc. You saw the celebrations. It's really a Wananchi thing. So it doesn't lessen it. But those leaders who fail to show up, for sure, I will not be afraid to say this, they have a responsibility to explain to citizens of this country where they were and why they didn't show up.
All right.
Not to explain to Raila Odinga. It's not about Raila Odinga.
Okay, you're saying they should explain to the people.
To Wananchi, not to Raila Odinga.
Okay, Samaha, JME, who's a NASA strategist, Dan Manzo, who's Member of Parliament for Makueni constituency. Gentlemen, stay with me. We want to take a short break. When we come back, we want to talk about what next after this oath and indeed what happens in the country going forward. A quick reminder, we remain off on terrestrial platforms. Now, what happens next following these investigations into individuals that were involved in that swearing-in ceremony yesterday, as well as members of the press? This is the big story here on KTN News. We'll be right back.